Sorry, crap. I'm from Malaysia.
Can you speak louder?
Yeah. I have a very beginner question. This is my first lesson. I read from the book. It says the mind controls the body. The mind. So the body is a vessel. Then what happens when some patient have a brain cancer? Maybe in the last 1 or 2 years, they are not themselves. So when they pass away, what state of mind is gone? Is it the mind when she was younger, or the mind in the last 2 years?
No, the mind is not affected by the conditions of the body. The mind is affected by the karma that it does during the lifetime. If you do good karma, you will contain in the mind lots of happiness. If you do bad karma, you will contain a lot of sadness or suffering. This does not change with the changing conditions of the body.
Okay.
So regardless of how you die, how you get sick, won't change the condition of your mind. Right. The happiness and the suffering in your mind depends on the good or bad karma that you did in your lifetime and previous lifetime.
Yep. Okay. ขอบคุณครับ.
Okay. You have question? Yes.
I have a couple of questions. I'm leaving tomorrow in the evening, and I will start practicing meditation, and I have some questions to make sure I'm doing everything right way. So first one is when I observing my breath. When I know that my mind will be flying away somewhere. So my question is, should I try to prevent this flying, or should I let it be and just understand it somewhere and bring it back after it? Or
you just concentrate on your breathing. Just keep watching your breathing. If that's what you do when you meditate, you have to have something to do while you meditate.
I'm laying on the floor.
Okay.
And so I know that my flight will be going. So should I wait this moment and try to prevent this?
You need something to keep your mind from going. You have to tie your mind. Like a boat, you have to have something to tie the boat to prevent the boat from floating with the current. So when you meditate, you have to have something to hold your mind, such as watching your breath, or you recite a mantra, putto, putto, putto.
No, I mean I'm watching my breath. When I'm watching my breath, there is two ways of this. Just watching it, and after I realize my mind is somewhere, just gently bring it back to continue watching. And second way, I can wait when my mind starts going and don't let them go. Just be focused on my breath.
Yeah, just keep focusing on your breath. Don't
just
pay attention to it. You have to force it.
Force it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And second question, when I'm observing my breath, for example, sometimes there is a moment when I feel something change very quickly inside me, and I feel very calm and very enjoy, and I start to be a little bit excited, and I'm trying to hold on this state in my mind, and I'm losing it, and I beginning from the start.
You come back to your breath. Don't hold on to your.
Don't try to hold on this.
Just keep watching your breath, and this thing will stay with you longer. And if they go away, they'll come back again. If you keep watching your breath.
Thank you. And third question, when I do a walking meditation, where should what feeling should I observe? Like on my feet, when feet touch the ground, should I concentrate on this one?
No need to concentrate on the feeling. Just watch what your movement is. If you're moving with your left foot, just know you're moving with your left foot. If you're stepping with your right foot, just know you're stepping with your right foot. Just like marching, like a soldier marching, left, right. Just like watching your breath. No need to focus on the feeling. Just
No.
focus on the action of the body.
S- Uh, just okay. So so there is another way, like reading a mantra. It creates a second mind. So better just watching the
It's
action.
up to you. It's up to you. Some people cannot watch, so they use a mantra instead.
Understand. Okay, up to me. Um, so this is all about what I wanted to know about meditation. So I have two more questions. First one is I came here because I wanted to find a place where nothing distracts me to understand what I want to do in the future. I get new experience suddenly about meditation, so I didn't solve this problem, what I want to do to the future. So I have too many options, all of them looking excited, but when I start to do a little bit in one of these ways, I'm losing my excitement very quickly, and I just nothing to excite me so well, so I can continue doing it for a long way. So what should I do with this? Is it okay, or is it?
You just have to study the option that you have, see the result of what you do, which one will be better for you. Then you decide for yourself. If you think meditation is good for you, then you continue to meditate. If you think go out and make money and have lots of fun is good for you, then you go do what you think is good for you. But every option has their drawbacks. They have their negatives. There's not only positive side to what you do. If you go look for money, if you get money, you can be happy. But if you don't get money, you can be sad, or you can be if you have money and you lose money, then you can be sad again. But if you meditate, then you usually don't have anything to lose. So with meditation, there are no drawbacks as far as losing what you have, because you don't have to have anything to make you happy. All you need to do is to know how to meditate. Once you know how to meditate, you can always meditate. But if you rely on having money, having things and people to make you happy, there can be the drawback when you cannot get them or when you lose them. So you have to weigh the options. Which option is better for you? Then you just take that option.
I understand. I just ask this question because people tell me just ask please, because I had this almost same question inside me, but almost same answer.
Okay.
Thank you. And the last question I have, so I'm a Western people, and I'm living in Thailand about 3 years altogether, and I never have problems in any kind of situation with Thai people about their way of say hi, like moving their hands like this and something. But here some monk come to me and said that I should use this way of speaking with some other people because some of them have some like a different level. So I was born, and no one tell me that there is a different levels between people. All people are the same equal. So what is he means? Should I do it, or how to deal with me if I don't understand?
There's a saying, when in Rome, do what the Romans do. When you're in a country, you follow the tradition and culture of that country. That's all.
Sorry, I just didn't say this. I feel something uncomfortable inside me. I don't know how to explain to myself to be in the way of doing this. So I feel a little bit like so when I cannot explain to myself in the comfortable way, why should I do it?
Well, because in Buddhism we measure people on their knowledge. the more knowledge they have, they are considered more superior than those who have less knowledge. Because those who have less knowledge will have to rely on those who have more knowledge for their advancement in life. So the Buddha is considered the highest person in our hierarchy in Buddhism. Then the Buddha and his noble disciples is like PhDs, and we are like kindergarten. So we should respect our teacher and pay our respect, show respect toward our teacher, because what the teacher will give us or have given us is very precious, that we could never get it from anybody else. So this is how we divide people in Buddhism according to their knowledge and their morality. Their knowledge and also their nobility. Nobility in the sense of kindness and compassion and love, sacrifice for other people. The more you can sacrifice, the more you give, we consider you to be higher than those who don't give. This is just the way how we measure people in Buddhism. And if you happen to come into Buddhism, then this is the way you have to learn and do. You might not have to believe it, but when you're with Buddhists, this is how they do it, and you should try to do it, or else you'll find it difficult to be living with them.
I have to think a little bit to understand.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Ajahn. I was wondering, over the last few years I've been kind of more and more prioritizing meditation and practicing Dhamma in my life, and was considering, so I came on this trip to Asia to see what it's like to stay in monasteries and things like that, and I also was considering back in the United States, my family has a place that I could go and sort of practice meditation on my own if I wanted to sort of live there. It's just like a sort of quiet property that they have in the mountains. And I was sort of curious from your experience, what's the benefit of committing yourself to being in a monastic community versus just sort of taking up the discipline and just practicing on your own?
Well, when you practice on your own, you have to rely on your ability to guide yourself. Even though you might have Dhamma books and Dhamma talks and so forth, but sometimes you need somebody else to discipline yourself, because practicing is not merely by knowledge only, but by doing also. And the doing sometimes needs discipline. You need something or somebody to force yourself to do it. Because normally if you have to force yourself, you don't like to force yourself. So this is the drawback if you stay by yourself. Unless you are a superhuman being like the Buddha, who have this strong urge to develop himself, to discipline himself, then you don't need to practice with other people. But you're the type who cannot enforce yourself to do what is right for you, then you might need to live in a monastery. But you need a good monastery, a good teacher who have good discipline, who have the right knowledge to guide you to the path of enlightenment. If you go to other monasteries that don't have good teachers, and even though they might be disciplined, but they don't know what discipline for, they just do it just for the sake of discipline, it might not lead you to anywhere. So you need a good teacher. Usually the most important person in the monastery is the teacher, who can guide the flocks, the students who stay in that monastery toward the goal of enlightenment. If you can find that kind of monastery with that kind of teacher, then I think it will be a lot helpful to you than to be on your own. This is what I found out myself. Because when I first started, I did on my own. I studied my own and I practiced on my own. And there's also this apprehension of having to live under somebody's supervision. Somehow the ego just doesn't like that. The ego likes to be independent. So I always have apprehension every time I think about ordaining and having to live in a monastery. So I try to stay on my own for as long as possible until I came to the point where I could no longer do that. I had a choice whether if I want to continue on with my meditation, I just have to go ordain because I ran out of money and resources to be able to practice on my own. But if I don't want to ordain, then I have to go to work to earn a living. Then I won't have the time to meditate. So this situation eventually forced me to take up the ordination. And I found out that was the right choice for me, because I could then advance a lot further than I could on my own. Had teachers, have different kind of method that I didn't know about that are being used to help push you on your path. So for me, I think to ordain and to find a good teacher, to find a good monastery is the right decision for me.
Do you have any advice when comparing different monasteries?
You just have to study. There's a book I studied when I first looking for monastery. They call it A Guide to Buddhist Monastery in Thailand. You can search in the internet. And this person, he went to visit all this monastery, and write about the pros and cons of each monastery. How many monks there are, what kind of teacher, what kind of teaching, what kind of food, what kind of weather. So this is something you can study. But more or less nowadays we know usually the well-known monasteries such as Wat Yannasangwararam, Ajahn Chah's disciples, Ajahn Lungta Mahabhu's disciples. These are the monastery that is considered to be on the level of, would say, useful, let's put it that way.
And any advice about evaluating teachers when you go to different monasteries?
Well, you just go and then study from him to see whether you can learn more than what you have already learned or not. If you couldn't find anything more better for you, you might find it maybe it's not good enough for you. Then you might have to go look for another teacher.
Okay. Thank you.
You have any question? You do? Okay. You take the microphone.
Hello, Wu Xiao. Hello.
Good.
Tana Chan, thank you very much for entertaining us. We are from Penang, Malaysia, and also a friend, Brother Leong from PJ, Subang Jaya. This second time that we come to this place, we are very happy and wish Tana Chan healthy and peaceful. I got a few questions to ask Tana Chan. The first one is it possible for one to attain an Arya state without experiencing jhana?
Well, according to Buddha, you have to have you have to have samadhi, you have to have wisdom, you have to have morality. So the answer is no. You have to have jhana. But having jhana doesn't mean that you have to sit in samadhi. Sometimes you can have jhana just simply because your mind stops thinking and your mind becomes peaceful and calm. So it's not the form of jhana that you have to have, like you have to sit and close your eyes and have jhana. Maybe your mind has already had jhana in the past life, so it is calm and it is ready to develop wisdom. So yes, to answer the question, you need to have jhana, you have to have samadhi. If you don't already have, but if you already have, then you don't have to develop it. Yeah. But you need, besides jhana, you need also wisdom, you also need charity, you also need morality, sila, the precepts. Yeah. This is the formula for attainment to the various level of enlightenment. You need to have these conditions. Okay? Is that all?
So Ajahn, you are also referring to the Sila, Samadhi and Panya?
Yes. If you don't need jhana, then the Buddha would just say sila and
Okay.
panya, no samadhi, no need for samadhi.
Question, Maya. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Second question.
Okay. Question number 2. What is the difference between mano and chitta?
It's the same thing with a different name.
Same thing.
Yeah, like sometimes you have a nickname and you have the real name. Yeah. Mano refers to the one who knows. Chitta usually refers to the one who think or feel. But it's in the same. It's the same thing. It's the one. It's not two separate things. It's the one thing that has different function. When you refer to the knowing function, you call it the mano, or heart. In Thai we call it jai. Yeah. And when you refer to the feeling, emotions, and the thinking, then you refer to the citta. So
Next question.
you forget
So-
your microphone.
So Ajahn, can we say that Chitta is regarding our emotions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like our emotion keep shifting, our feeling keep shifting, changing. But the mano doesn't shift or change. The one who knows always remain the one who knows. Okay, give the microphone.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay, the third question is, are there living arahants in this world? And if so, how can we know they are arahants?
Well, you have to seek them. They are like diamonds. They are not easy to find. But if you get to know people who know how to find them, then you will be able to find them. Because normally they are quite hard to find and quite hard to verify. It's like diamond. Even if you have found a diamond, you still not sure whether it's real diamond or not. So you have to take it to someone who is an expert on verifying whether this is a real diamond or not. So what you need to do is to get into the group or the circle of people who know or who believe that they know that this or that person is an arahant. And there are usually several ways of verifying an arahant. The one way is you have to wait after he dies, and when his bones turn into relics, then it means he's an arahant. The second method is to study from him, and then practice according to what he teaches you. And if you become an arahant, then you can be pretty sure that he must be an arahant. Thirdly, you just have to rely on people you trust, that they speak true, that they believe that that person is an arahant, and you can maybe watch his conduct, his behavior, whether he is according to what he's supposed to be or not. So these are ways that you can identify an arahant. But normally what you do is you usually go to, say for instance, if you know this teacher when he's alive, but you don't know whether he's an arahant or not, but after he dies, his bones turn into relics. So what you do next is you go after his disciples, those who study with him, those who practice with him, who normally usually become arahant like him. Because if you trace the tradition of Ajahn, you'll find that the first Ajahn bone has become relics. Then his disciple who die, also their bones become relics. So this is one way of at least getting close to an arahant. But whether those people who study with this teacher are arahant or not, you have to listen to their Dhamma talks and also see how they practice. If you have any question, that you ask them and see if they can answer your questions or not. So these are ways of verifying an arahant. To find, you just go look for those who study with those who were arahants before. So we have this in Thailand we call the Kammatthana Bhikkhu in the lineage of the Ajahn. So if you go study from these monks who study with Ajahn or his disciples, then you can be quite close to an arahant. Whether he is or not, that also needs some verification. Or maybe people who were close to him will verify for you. They say, will vouch for you that they believe 100% that he is an arahant. So you can more or less find an arahant if you really look for, if you know how to look for them. Okay.
Ajahn, just to ask about the relics. They are very senior monks. When they pass away, cremated, and they are relics. Does this relic signify that he's an arahant or wise monks?
No, he must be an arahant. If he's not an arahant, his bone will not turn into relics. His bone will just be ordinary bones and eventually crumbles into dust. But with the relics, they don't crumble. They like rocks or stones. But in some cases, an arahant his bone might not turn into relics. You know why? According to Ajahn Mahabua, he said that if you become an arahant and then you die suddenly afterwards, it means that your purified mind doesn't have the time to purify the body. So even though your mind is an arahant, but your body would not turn, the bone will not turn into relics. If you don't have the time to live long enough for the mind, the pure mind, to purify the bones. So sometimes a good teacher, a noble teacher, his bone might not turn into relics. So this doesn't say that he is not. So there are several ways. You have to look at his teaching, you have to look at his conduct also. Whether they conform to each other or not. His teaching is one thing, his conduct is different, then you might say, oh, this is not right. So his conduct, his teaching must conform with the teaching of the Buddha also. But this is not really important. The important is for you to study the teaching of the Buddha. And the teaching of the Buddha is still available for you to study. There are people who practice who can help answer some of the questions that might arise from your study. So as you practice, as you move forward, you will have more wisdom to be able to evaluate different person, whether they are whether they have attained to a certain level or not. But most important is you. Whether you have attained or not is more important than whether the other persons have attained or not. So if you cannot find a living teacher, then go to the Tipitaka and study from the Tipitaka, the teaching that has been recorded, the teaching of the Buddha, like all the major suttas. The first sermon, the first sutta, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the Satipatthana Sutta, the Mangala Sutta. These are the important suttas that you can use in your path to enlightenment. Any more questions?
Ajahn, can Ajahn elaborate a little bit on the 7 factors of enlightenment?
7 factors of enlightenment, such as mindfulness. I can't remember it all. Can you remember? Okay, you have to look in Google. They are like the Noble Eightfold Path. They are similar.
Yeah.
So
They have the calmness, the insight,
yeah,
equanimity.
yeah. Equanimity is Samma Samadhi. Yeah. So sometimes when the Buddha talk about the way to enlightenment, sometimes he might change some factor, to fit the person who listen to his talk. So sometimes he omit the sila. He concentrate more on the mind, on the factor of the mind. See, the factor of enlightenment usually refers to all the factor inside the mind. It doesn't talk about sila or dana.
Ajahn, another question. Can we say that we can separate the mind from the body if we do samatha meditation?
When you have full concentration, the mind will temporarily detach from the body. The body will disappear from the mind. The mind then becomes like it exists alone by itself. But this is very temporarily. When the mind comes out of samadhi, it reunites with the body. So the next step, you have to use wisdom to remind yourself constantly that the body and the mind are 2 separate things. That the body is impermanent, the mind is permanent. And the mind, if the mind wants to be free of anxiety and stress, the mind has to let go of its attachment to the body. Because the attachment to the body is causing anxiety and worry and stress. This is the goal. Once you can separate the mind with samadhi, then the next step is to separate the mind with wisdom, which you have to do continually. As soon as you feel that you are clinging to the body, you have to use wisdom to detach it right away. When you start to worry about sickness, you have to say, the body gets sick, but you don't get sick. So let the body get sick. Why should you worry about it? If you cannot prevent it, then you just have to let it happen. In order to free your mind from stress and anxiety. So this is what you separate the mind from the body.
And Ajahn, is this remembering or constantly remembering that the body is impermanent? We call it vipassana?
Yes, yeah. It's remembering the truth that sometimes we like to ignore or forget. because we don't like the body to get old, get sick, or die. So when we don't think about it, it makes us feel that we're not gonna get old, get sick, or die. And as soon as when we think of the body as getting old, get sick, or die, we feel we become old and sick and die suddenly. But we have to keep reminding the truth, so that we can then not cling to the body, because we know that by clinging to something that we cannot cling to, will only make us unhappy.
So Ajahn, can we say also not to cling to other bodies?
Yes, not to cling to everything besides body, money, your status, your house, your possession, whatever. Because when you cling to them, your mind will be uneasy, and because you know that you don't know when you're gonna lose them, right? And you don't want to lose them. But if you just accept the fact that you're gonna lose everything, because when you die, you don't take anything with you. Then it's better just to let go of everything. Then your mind will then become at ease, not worrying, not stressful.
But Ajahn, that would not be considered as liberation from suffering, right?
Yes, that's liberation from stress, anxiety, worry. These are all suffering. Suffering is just one big word that covers all forms of uneasiness in your mind. Sadness, depression, loneliness, anything like this, all the negative thing in the mind is covered by the word suffering, dukkha. The word suffering in English doesn't cover it like dukkha. Dukkha covers everything that is negative in the mind, in the emotion, all the negative emotion, all the negative feelings are considered to be dukkha. When you use suffering, you tend to think when the body suffers, like somebody put a knife, in your body or something like that. But it's more than that. Even just the feeling of worry whether you're gonna have food to eat tomorrow or not, this is also dukkha already.
So Ajahn, liberation from suffering is nibbana. What do normally when they say all the defilements will be eradicated, is that also nibbana? That is no more greed, hatred, and delusion?
That's the result. If you can eliminate your greed, hate, and delusion by wisdom and samadhi. Your greed, hate, delusion arise from your attachment to things. But when you no longer attach to them, then you don't have no greed, hate, or delusion toward them. So it's just like when we first said about separating the mind from everything, the body and everything. And this is the way to get rid of all your defilements. Your defilement arises from your attachment to things and body. So when you're no longer attached to them, you don't need them, you don't depend on them to make you happy, then you don't have greed, hate, or delusion toward them. Then you will have no suffering, no bad feeling, no bad emotion arise in your mind. Your mind will be always peaceful and calm, all the time. That's what nibbana is. It's a state of mind of permanent peace and happiness. It's not a place like Singapore or Malaysia. It's a mind that is constantly peaceful and happy. Our mind right now is not constantly peaceful and happy. Sometimes we are happy, sometimes we are sad. Most of the time I think we are more sad than happy. Because there's always something for us to be sad with. Because we still attached to them. We still rely on them to make us happy. And when we find that they might not be able to make us happy, then we become unhappy. So it's better not to rely on anything to make you happy. Once you don't rely, then your mind becomes free. It doesn't free from anxiety, free from worry. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Ajahn, just to ask these questions, usually one experience stillness is a fleet of seconds, a very short while. How can we prolong experiencing stillness? And secondly, is the stillness near the path to jhana, or is it to the Brahma Vihara, the fourth Brahma Vihara?
It's the same thing. Jhana and Brahma Vihara, Brahma, the state of Brahma, are the consequence of you using mindfulness to calm your mind to become still. But you only still for briefly, because you have your mindfulness is not strong enough and not continuous enough. So what you have to do more is to develop more mindfulness, make it more continuous, have more mindfulness all the time, most of the time, a lot of times. Then the more mindfulness you have, when you meditate, then you can use mindfulness to keep the mind still for a longer period of time. So the key is mindfulness. You have to keep developing mindfulness. Right now your mindfulness is very little, so your stillness is very brief. But the more mindfulness you have, then the longer your stillness will become. So you have to become a monk. That way you can continue on with developing mindfulness. Or at least be a temporary monk. Go stay in the temple for 10 days and then live like monks for 10 days. Then you don't have to do any other thing but keep developing mindfulness. Any more questions?
One more question. Ajahn, this ekagata, one pointedness of mind, is this on the threshold into the jhana, or is it into the threshold of Brahma Vihara?
It's jhana itself. When you have ekagataram, you are in fourth jhana. You're in the fourth jhana, and you are already become a Brahma by the fact of your jhana. Okay? And all you need is mindfulness. Keep reciting Bhutto, Bhutto, Bhutto. Don't think. Or watch your breath. If you sit, you can watch your breath. But if you're not sitting, it's easier to use Bhutto, Bhutto. But you have to sit in order for the mind to enter into stillness. Because if you're still moving with your body, then your mind still have to work. Because the mind is the one who controls the body. But if you want the mind to become still, then you have to sit down and keep the body still first. A still body will make the mind become still. But not just the still body. If you sit still, but your mind still keeps thinking, you cannot still have not have jhana. And in order to have your mind to become still, just like the body, you need mindfulness. Mindfulness of breathing, just keep watching your breath, or mindfulness of a mantra, reciting Bhutto, Bhutto, Bhutto. Then your mind will eventually become still if you persist on your mindfulness. All right? Is that all the question?
Ajahn, one question here. Is it true that better to get into wisdom than to get into jhanas?
Is it better?
To get wisdom, panya,
You need both. Yeah.
need both.
Before you can get wisdom, you need to have samadhi. Without jhana, you cannot use wisdom effectively. See, wisdom has 3 levels. The first level is easy. Wisdom from listening to Dhamma talks. Wisdom, the second level, wisdom from investigating the truth. But you need the third one, wisdom that is supported by jhana. That will be the wisdom that will eliminate your defilements. Wisdom from listening to Dhamma talk cannot get rid of your defilement. Wisdom from investigating the truth, such as impermanent, that still cannot get rid of your defilement. But if you have wisdom that you get from learning, from listening and investigating, coupled with the jhana, then you will have the strength to get rid of your defilements. Right now you know defilement is bad, but you cannot stop it because you don't have jhana. You need jhana to be the one to stop the defilement.
So, if I'm not mistaken, Ajahn, is it you are referring to the Sutta Maya or something like that? The Bhavana?
Yeah, Pavana Madhya Panya.
Thank you.
The first is Sutta Maya Panya, wisdom from listening. Cinta Maya Panya, wisdom from thinking. And then Pavana Madhya Panya, wisdom from developing jhana, Pavana, Samatha Pavana. So you need the third one to be able to get rid of the defilements. But you need the first two as the stepping stone. You first have to know what wisdom is. Then once you know what wisdom is, then you need to develop jhana to support your wisdom. Once you have both wisdom and jhana, then you can then get rid of your defilement. Okay?
So Ajahn, basically we are talking about, if you are talking about wisdom, that means anicca, dukkha and anatta.
Yes, and Four Noble Truths. Because these are the roadmap to getting rid of your defilements. In the Four Noble Truths, the Buddha said your dukkha arise, your bad feeling, your sadness arise from your desire. Your desire are your defilements, cravings. And if you want to get rid of your bad feelings and bad emotions, you have to stop your cravings. And in order to stop your craving, you need to have to see that craving leads you to anicca, dukkha, anatta. Because the things that you crave for, they are anicca, dukkha, anatta. So once you see it's dukkha that you're going after, then you say, you stop. You go after money, it's anicca, dukkha, anatta. You go after your family, they are anicca, dukkha, anatta. Everything in this world are anicca, dukkha, anatta. So they are not worth going after. So it's better to exist without having anything. Okay? Any more questions? Okay. One more question.
yeah,
This is the
Ajahn.
last one.
Okay, last one. So, can we say contentment could be
The result, eventually result. Contentment arises from you getting rid of your cravings. Once you have no craving, then you have contentment. As long as you still have craving, you will never have contentment. They cannot go together. They are the opposite side of each other, like day and night. If you have day, you don't have night. If you have craving, you have no contentment. If you have no craving, then you have contentment. Okay? All right. Thank you for your question, and I hope it enlighten you somewhat, and maybe push you along further on the path. Thank you for coming.